So, I am going as an independent because I'm introducing myself to a political world for the first time. My background is small business. I've helped create New West Pride. I'm a renter in the West End, and my passion is Vancouver. And I want to give my voice to this city because the way it's going, I just find it atrocious, where they're not taking care of renters. We are 55%, at least the last census was 55%, of the population of Vancouver. Yet we have no rights, but there's always loopholes for people that are getting kicked out of their homes. One of the most detrimental things I find, we are changing the zoning for apartment buildings, and all of a sudden the renter who's had tenants for 20 years, 30 years, oh my God, windfall, now I can sell it for $40 million. Well, how about 20% of that goes directly to the tenants that you are kicking out to go live somewhere to find yourself. I have friends in their 70s who have lived in the same suite for 20 years. She's given over $200,000 to the landlords who've done absolutely nothing to the building. Yet, they, with this new plan, will have the opportunity to make tens of millions of dollars. That's got to stop. We have to find a way for tenants. Also, small business. Again, I'll go back to raw knowledge. There's no reason why we don't have low-rise 12 to 13-foot story buildings with commercial below. We need to also help our small business people because it's so hard to start a business in Vancouver. And if we have the cafe, we can start revolutions in cafes. We can have artist studios. We can have everything together to create a great city for us all, not just those that are millionaires. So I want to just give my voice. I hope that I've helped get you to know me a little bit better. I want to work with the council that is there now. I want to make it kinder in City Hall, more inclusive, and just have the opportunity to give more to you. So that's me, Guy Dubé. Oh, and by the way, I'm first on the ballot. Sorry, guys. Thank you, Guy. John, 2 minutes.
I'm going to try and answer all the questions if I can remember them. Going back to Caitlin's question too, about taking the speculation out of housing. The best way to do this is to have a public developer to build public housing on public land. Thank you. The next question, yes? You have to remember. Yes to free parking at Spanish Banks. The third was about CACs, I believe, and community amenity contributions are great in theory, but they've kind of been abused, and the city has kind of gotten addicted to that revenue, and they're trading density for that. So like there's a kind of an implicit bias there because you're so addicted to that funding because you're starved from it elsewhere. So yes, they're great in theory, but they can be improved. And the last question on like the public housing, the public meeting. SFU has done a lot of great work around this, and they recommend something called neighborhood assemblies. And I think that would be fantastic. But also, permanent residents aren't allowed to vote in civic elections. Vancouver passed this in 2017 unanimously. So I'll bring that back because a lot of times these public meetings are the only chance for permanent residents to be able to voice their democratic right. So thank you very much.
Annette.
Thank you. Yeah, when it comes to, I believe it's Bill 18 that the province has implemented that has taken away the voice of the people. And this is wrong on all fronts. Again, we need to be hearing from people. The only way you can guide a city and build a city is if the people can contribute. I want to hear from each and every neighborhood. I want an overview, a comprehensive, holistic view of the entire city to move forward so that we can make the best decisions for everyone. That is why I'm feeling called to do this. I love my career, I love filmmaking, but this is something that I am feeling compelled to do, to speak up right now for my children's future and for all of our futures. I am last on the ballot, so start at the bottom, check that, and then work your way up. But honestly, let's put a renter on council. When's the last time we had a renter on council, right? I rent I have been through that situation where I had cancer and everything was stripped away from me financially, and I've had to rebuild over the last 13 years. My entire financial life. That's why I advocate for people who have gone through those things. I know what it's like to have one life event strip your ability to have a roof over your head. So let me be that voice for the people. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Lucy.
I have a track record of dealing with and examining the structural factors that lead to the deaths and injuries on our roads, which is why I've been a spokesperson for Vision Zero Vancouver and why I'm the working group lead for DPAC's Active Transport and Safe Routes to School working group. I'm also particularly interested, if I can be lucky enough to win your trust and be elected to council, in dealing with the structural factors that lead to housing unaffordability. I've been on the doors listening to people talk about how the stress of potentially losing their housing follows them constantly like a dark storm cloud over their heads. New projects, I've also heard on the doors from architects, are falling over because of the structural factors which make new housing expensive and impossible to build in some instances. And Caitlin, this is in answer to your question. There are a bunch of factors that make new housing expensive, and they need to be changed. There's land costs that we could defray by allowing new multifamily housing to be built in more areas of the city. Holding costs while permits are extremely difficult to get and take a long time, and you need to pay huge amounts of interest. Community amenity contributions, which are a tax on people that buy and rent new housing that are paying for the infrastructure and services of the rest of the city, and it's not a really fair way of distributing those costs. And construction costs, so with tariffs we're going to have even more expensive construction costs, and I'm really worried that projects for housing that we desperately need aren't going to go ahead. If I get on council, I am going to sit down and look at why new housing is so expensive, why projects, especially non-profit projects, are falling over, and deal with it in a constructive way in combination with other councillors.
Thank you. Sarah.
I'm going to try this standing up thing. So I want to just run through some questions. So the yes or no to free parking at Spanish Banks. I really feel that we need to talk about this war on the car in Vancouver. It's not a given that it's a good thing to just restrict car use and make it as expensive and inconvenient as possible. Cars are a tool that lots of people use to do things, to participate in the economy, to have relationships. And I think that the war on the car is not actually generating the kind of community or the kind of city that we want. I think it's a backhanded slap at a form of discrimination. I quite agree with Sean that the city is addicted to these community amenity contributions, and I think we would be much better off if we were actually making decisions, actually having our elected officials making decisions about community amenities, like whether we want a pool at Mount Pleasant. Those are decisions we can make. They're our tax dollars. We get to decide how to spend them. We get to decide what we want. If we are always feeding this into the developers' hands, then we do end up with what we can negotiate with the developers. We should be making those decisions freely. As for planning, top-down planning, I spent some time looking at the Vancouver plan in the last few days. And if we really want to get rid of top-down planning, we need to rip this up. It is an unbelievable document. This was done by raging extremists. I don't know who was let loose to write this thing. It's sheer insanity for anything that calls itself a democracy. I'm going to do a series on Twitter of tweets of various quotes that I'm pulling out of it because it is beyond the pale. The other thing I just want to say quickly is that I think it's an indignity and insanity that, and impossible that a 36-year-old cannot afford a single-family home. We need to reach higher than that. We should not be just saying, oh, concrete boxes in the sky. I believe that we should be able to, for our young people to afford to have the kind of housing that their parents have had. There's no reason why we should not aspire to that.
Thank you.
It's done now. Hello, everyone. I have 2 minutes to spare me your 2 minutes, please. Okay. I am different from them. I'm a Filipino-Canadian, but I am with you. What are my visions? Living wage. We need living wage to pay for the rent, to pay for the food, to pay for the transport, right? To pay for the medications that we need, even though pharmacare is already there, right? Then number 2, we have to give our youth the business grant that they deserve to start up businesses in Vancouver, to pay for their parents' future. So without the youth that we have to give them the grants for business, the seniors will not be given the care that they need for their parents. We are moving forward for the future. Number 3, green spaces for all. There's a lot of trees that are cut down. There's a lot of parks that are done with illegal logging. We need to make it happen. We need to make our space greener for the future. And number 4, for the supportive housing, we need detox center, we have rehabilitation supportive housing, and we need employment center 143 in downtown East Side. Then we can become a community again.
Thank you. Owen?
Okay, I'm going to start with the CAC question. Once upon a time, CACs were created as an individual negotiation between the Director of Planning and the developer. So your Concord Pacific, you want to build great density, you're going to have to pay to get the community center, a school, a park in there. And that's how CACs started. But then in 2009, after Gregor Robertson and Vision got in, they changed the business model and regularized CACs as a revenue stream. Basically what they did is they took the 800 blocks roughly of the camping plan and they went block by block and said, we expect this many land assemblies going up this many stories, and every single time one of those comes for a rezoning application to City Council and gets passed, we go ka-ching, ka-ching. And the way they sold it is, we're going to have growth fund growth. And it sounded great. But instead of being location specific as it was initially, it was changed to go into general revenue. And the city has come to look at it just as another revenue stream. And I watched while I was on council, CACs go from 27 to 45% of the capital budget and inflate the land value in the city by more than 250%. And as long as we keep using this model of rezoning, we're going to have continuous inflation of land values, and we're never going to have things that are going to be affordable. And if we take away the power of the people to weigh in on how their neighborhoods are going to be affected, and allow us to have balance between the growth that we're expecting together with our transportation, together with community amenities, commercial activity, and affordability, we are never going to sort out the problems in this city. But we can't keep pretending it's going to be a simple problem to solve, because it's not. But we can stop inflating land values, because as long as we do that, it's never going to be affordable. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter.
So I'll just address the top-down planning model. Vancouver used to have city plan. We used to have a way of going about developing our communities in a way that worked with residents. And we need to bring that back. Losing that is an affront to our democracy, and this election is about democracy. If you elect 2 team city councilors, you'll be electing a strong opposition, which is what we need. The only reason any of us are in this room is because one city councilor decided to leave and go to Victoria. This by-election would not be happening if it wasn't for that, okay? And I also say that we need to turn the ship around. And I'll reiterate what I said before. Is it okay if we create a city that makes millionaires, multimillionaires in real estate and not real estate billionaires, developer billionaires? I think that would be okay with everyone, okay? And so on April 5th, when you go to the polls, I want you to keep in mind that what you're voting for is an opposition. And I want you to ask yourself, who's going to provide the strongest opposition? And I hope that you see that that's team. Thank you.
All right, and last word goes to Roller Girl.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think there's a lot of land that should be developed already it's wasted in Vancouver. I live in the downtown east side, and it's like there's lots of land to redevelop. Okay, there's lots of land that's just polluted and getting in our lungs and infesting. You know, I don't do drugs, I don't drink alcohol, you know, and I'm marginalized everywhere I go. It doesn't matter. And I'm getting sick and tired of being treated like a friggin' yo-yo. I'm not a yo-yo. I have feelings. I'm a Pisces. I'm strong. I'm a strong spirit. I'm a fighter. I won't quit. And until I get elected, I won't quit. Because my voice is for trans women, to intersex women, to black, white, Chinese, that don't care. You know, safety is first. So please elect me. And, you know, we need our baseball. Opal Harbor Park used to be our baseball field to play in every summer. You know, since the encampment, it was taken away. You know, taken away our activities. It's okay, it's taken away our activities, and therefore it's feeding into the mental illness. You know, we need activities to feed into better things. And again, I get paid $1,600 a month plus rent. You know, and I gotta pay for my hormones to keep my mental stability and everything else for me. You know, so you know, these billionaires or whatever taking over, you know, like, come on. That's nonsense. Nobody's gonna make $1 billion in a lifetime. Get another Lotto 649 ticket? Can you please buy me one? Thank you. Please vote for Roller Girl. Be safe and please be kind and please vote in April, whatever, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, that concludes our session. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for staying.